Her mother's dead at a young age. Her father, Henri-Albert Chanel, abandoning the family. Being a street seller and spending several years in the care of the Sisters of the Sacred Heart in Aubazine could not stop Chanel to be a revolutionary and a brand to reckon with. Early life. Gabrielle Bonheur Chanel was born in a charity hospital in Saumur, Maine-et-Loire, to Eugénie Jeanne Deville Chanel, also known as Jeanne, a laundrywoman. The family was living in squalor. Jeanne passed away at 32 when Gabrielle was 11 years old. She was not a school-goer. Her dad abandoned his 3 girls to an orphanage run by the Sisters of Aubazine, while he sent his 2 sons to work on the farms. The Congregation of the Sacred Heart of Mary was established to care for the impoverished and unwanted, including administering homes for abandoned and orphaned girls, as its website puts it. It was a simple, austere lifestyle that called for rigorous self-control. Maybe learning to sew at the orphanage helped Chanel get ahead in life. Chanel left Aubazine when she was 18 to live in a boarding house for Catholic girls in a nearby town of Moulins. Chanel's later life retellings of her childhood differed slightly from the originals. She claimed that after her mother passed away, her father left for America for better economic opportunities, and she was sent to live with her 2 aunts. She also said her mother passed away when she was much younger than 11, and that she had been born a decade later in 1883. Chanel got a job as a seamstress after learning the trade during her 6 years at Aubazine. She sang in a cabaret frequented by military officers when she wasn't sewing. Chanel first performed on stage as a singer in a cafe concert, a common form of entertainment at the time, in the Moulins pavilion La Rotonde. She amused the audience in between acts as a poisseuse. Their earnings were the amount of money in the collection plate that was passed around in the audience. When Gabrielle began performing in the cabarets at night, she regularly sang the song Who Has Seen Coco, which became her signature tune and led her to the nickname Coco. She liked to boast that her father was the one who first called her by the name. Some have suggested that the name Coco was inspired by her phrases Coco Rico and Oui quoi vous Coco, while others have suggested that it was a play on the French word for kept woman. When performing, Chanel gave off an air of childlike charm that appealed to the cabaret regulars in the armed forces. In Vichy's spa town, Chanel found employment in 1906. She planned to become a singer in one of Vichy's many cafes, theaters, or music halls. Chanel's youthful and attractive appearance won over the casting directors at her auditions, but her weak singing voice prevented her from landing any acting roles. Due to financial necessity, she accepted a position as a donneuse d'eau at the Grand Grill, where she served the famously health-giving mineral water of Vichy to patrons. After the Vichy season's end, Chanel returned to Moulins and her favorite bar, La Rotonde. This was the moment she knew that she couldn't pursue a career in the theater seriously. Establishment of stores. With the help of Arthur Capel, a man she had an affair with, Chanel founded a store in Deauville in 1913, where she debuted her luxurious sportswear. Fabrics like jerseys and tricots were more commonly found in men's undergarments then, were repurposed for the season styles. The spot was ideal, right in the middle of a trendy district. Chanel's signature sailor blouse, the marinière, and other outwear items were sold here. Chanel's sister, Antoinette, and her aunt, Adrienne, were both devoted to her. Chanel hired Adrienne and Antoinette as models to promote the brand by parading them around the town and on the boardwalks daily. Inspired by her success in Deauville, Chanel launched a shop in Biarritz in 1915. Biarritz, located in the Côte Basque and convenient to affluent Spanish patrons, served as a refuge for the well-heeled and those forced to flee their nations during the war. Instead of opening in a traditional storefront, the Biarritz location is housed in a villa near the casino. Chanel was so successful in its first year of operation that it paid back Capel's initial investment the very next year in 1916. Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich of Russia, an exile, was one of Chanel's first friends at Biarritz. They shared a brief romantic encounter and remained friends for years after that. By 1919, Chanel had become a certified couturière and opened her first couture house, the Maison Chanel at 31 Rue Cambon in Paris. New products and innovation. Her career took off exponentially after this point, thanks to her boundless ambition and refusal to settle for anything less than the best. Her first, now iconic scent, Chanel No. 5, was born out of the same insatiable need to keep inventing new things, and has since proven to be universally acclaimed as one of the best perfumes ever made. Soon after, the fragrances of No. 22, No. 19, and Gardenia, named after the designer's favorite flower, were introduced. Gabrielle Chanel, ever observant, drew inspiration for her designs from the uniform of Parisian workers and orders, black skirts with white collars and cuffs. In the middle of the 12th century, her research inspired the creation of the little black dress, petit robe noir, with the simplest lines possible to provide a level playing field for women while retaining their sense of style. Chanel's iconic suit in gabardine, tweed, and of course jersey is a testament to this vision and her now iconic philosophy that trend passes, style remains. Expansion of line of business. The designer's focus shifted to accessories when she had established a solid and consistent aesthetic for her clothing line. Chanel established an atelier to produce costume jewelry, with the assistance of Count Etienne de Beaumont and Duke Fulco de Verdura. The designer, who cherished the purity of her costumes, felt compelled to create extravagant, almost lavish pieces. She sought to strike the ideal balance between seriousness and playfulness in her accessories. The 1930s is now ascribed to the creation of the Chanel 2.55, the handbag that has been most often imitated since its inception. Chanel didn't worry that her products were being knocked off since, as she puts it, being plagiarized is the highest honor one can receive. It only happens to adults. The designer had to take a break from the industry for a while due to the restrictions imposed by the war, emerging again in 1954. At 71 years old, her contemporaries saw Chanel as a cultural relic. Unsurprisingly, Chanel showed off her knitted suit, which quickly became another mainstay in the house. Jackie Kennedy, the First Lady, was an early supporter of the classic suit, and was often spotted wearing it. Most memorably, Jackie donned the Chanel suit in a vivid pink point knit on the day of her husband John F. Kennedy's assassination. Chanel's death. Chanel, who had lived to be 87 years old, passed away in her apartment at the Hotel Ritz in Paris on January 10, 1971. A life lived to the utmost, and she revolutionized how women worldwide think about clothing. Gaston Berthelot and Ramon Espraza, the late designer's aides, took over the Maison immediately after her passing. After Karl Lagerfeld took over as creative director in 1983, he showed how to update the house's signature aesthetic without straying too far from Chanel's original intentions. Chanel or Gucci? Which one would you pick? Let us know in the comments.